Kentucky has really needed to show more effort on the defensive end, and they absolutely showed it earlier today in a blowout win over South Carolina.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be recapping Kentucky basketball's blowout win over the South Carolina Gamecocks. 80-57 is the final score here. Going to break down the positives, the negatives. There weren't a ton, but we'll talk about everything heading into the massive showdown on Tuesday against the Tennessee Volunteers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook, because new customers can bet just $5, and if they win, they'll score $200 in bonus bets. Just download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Really appreciate everybody here live on YouTube recapping, again, this massive win for UK. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast feed, I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. And if you're listening right now on YouTube, let me know what you thought about this game in the live chat. I'll try and get to as many comments as possible here as we recap, again, Kentucky's win over USC. We'll start here with what I thought was the biggest takeaway from this game, and that was the effort that Kentucky showed on the defensive end. Now, you got to see in that first half against Ole Miss just a lackluster, pathetic effort from the Cats when it came to closing out, defending the rim, literally doing anything on that end of the floor. Ole Miss only had, I believe, just one turnover in that game. Incredibly embarrassing stuff. Mark Pope seemingly cut open his hand on furniture during that game, showed some fire, showed some energy. We were looking for more of that. We were looking for a spark here heading into the South Carolina game, and thankfully, I think this is the right time for this game to come on your schedule. You needed some momentum, you needed some energy, and this was a South Carolina team that doesn't have a ton of juice. All due respect, they've got a couple of really solid players, but overall, not having a great year. Now, 0-10 in SEC play, a team that just doesn't shoot very well from the floor, and Kentucky closed out. They contested, they fought for rebounds, they were aggressive, they were swiping at balls, they were trying to create turnovers, and they did some in this game, but overall, I was just more impressed with the fact that Kentucky was able to go out and show a consistent effort from start to finish. Kentucky outscored USC 33-19 in the first half, outscored them by 9 in the second period to cruise to that 80-57 win. Love the effort that I saw on both ends of the floor from Kentucky. Another thing that I really liked as well is seeing Lamont Butler back and just what that did for your entire defense. Just having your lead on-ball defender back kind of shut some things down for USC, got them late into different shot clocks. I think that there were 2 shot clock violations in this game, if I'm not mistaken, for South Carolina. Just great stuff to see Butler back. 8 points, only 2 of 5 from the floor. He had 3 assists, 3 turnovers, a couple of careless, reckless decisions, but still, it's good to see him back. Jackson Robinson, despite visibly being hurt, that wrist is bothering him. Still hit 2 threes, 2 of 5 from beyond the arc, 2 of 8 from the floor. Missed, I think, like 3 reverse layups, where at that point you just have to not rush things, don't overthink things, just put the ball in the basket if you're sitting right there at it. But couldn't get some stuff to fall. But man, you talk about Jax being a solid point guard in both Carissa and Butler's stead. 4 assists today, no turnovers with those 6 points and 5 rebounds in just 20 minutes of play. You love to see it. You like to see the production from Jax, who is his three-point percentage is just continuing to climb. Somebody in the chat has already asked, how serious is Jackson Robinson's injury? I think that we'll see just how serious it is whenever the injury report comes out on Monday. If I had to guess, he's probably going to be listed as probable. I don't know if the wrist is that serious, especially considering he was fighting through it and he came back into the game multiple times after clearly being hurt, grabbing his wrist. I don't think it's that serious, especially if he's playing through it. I'm glad that he only got 20 minutes in this game. And something that people were saying on Twitter that I think Pope, obviously he wasn't reading Twitter, but he actually ended up doing is, like, whenever Kentucky got up, they took Butler out. to avoid any sort of major injury in this game, I think it's really important that Kentucky kind of maintain their rotation the way that they did. And then I thought you saw some solid minutes from both Trent Noah and then from the bench just as a whole. We'll get to that later on in the show. Bench points were crucial in this game, as South Carolina could get almost nothing going outside of their starters. The energy, the defensive effort, Lamont being back, Jack's fighting through it, all very, very good things for Kentucky. We'll continue to break this down here in just a little bit. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks. Of course, the big game is almost here. It's tomorrow. There's no better way to make it even more exciting than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. Over 10 million subscribers and billions in winnings awarded. Prize Picks makes it fun and simple to get in on the action. And here's how it works as a member. You can pick more or less on at least 2 players' projections. And if you're right, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. Prize Picks even has a free pick for the big game where Patrick Mahomes only needs 1 yard passing to win. You can pair that with one correct pick and you're cashing out. I said it on yesterday's show. I'll reiterate it here. Travis Kelce receiving yards. I'm going more for that. I'm going more for a QB's passing yardage as well, looking at Mahomes specifically. You can download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, continuing along here on the Saturday evening episode of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. I really appreciate you guys checking out the show today. Again, if you are in the live chat, would appreciate it. Leave your thoughts about this game. How do you think it went? 23-point win for the Cats, who are now 16-7, 5-5 in SEC play. Got a big opportunity on Tuesday, and that's actually the most recent chat that popped in saying Tennessee's going to come into Rupp on an absolute mission. That's a huge game for Kentucky, a team that Cats went on the road and beat just 4 games ago. Coming back here, Kentucky projected to lose that game according to KenPom. We'll see how it goes, but I think vibes are not immaculate, but they're trending back in the right direction, I think, for both this team and then for Big Blue Nation as well. Okay, let's continue to break down this game. Let's go ahead and actually get to another big takeaway from this one. We'll get to the 2 major player performances later on in the show, but I want to talk here about the bench points. So Kentucky, as I said in the preview episode, and as a lot of people have been saying, Mark Pope included, he wanted to get more out of his bench. Instead of shortening his rotation with injuries, he actually wanted to get deeper into his bench to see if he could make some things work with the guys that have not gotten a ton of playing time. I'm glad that Trent Noah got minutes in this game. Travis Perry only got 2, and that was at the end of the contest. But Trent, 13 minutes, 5 points. Those 5 points came towards the end of the game. 2 of 5 from the floor, 1 of 3 from 3. He had 5 rebounds as well and an assist. You do not see anybody fighting harder, I think, consistently than Trent Noah for free balls off of rebounds. Very impressed with the way that he continues to show effort every time he gets into the game. Pope has praised him for that, and I thought it was big. You had somebody like Andrew Carr coming off the bench playing well, 9 points, knocked down a 3. He had 3 rebounds to go along with that in 14 minutes of play. Kobe Brea, 4 of 8, 2 of 6 from the floor. He also had 6 assists, no turnovers, 5 rebounds. So that's 10, 6, and 5 for Kobe coming off the bench. Great performance from Kobe. He was backing down his man, getting into the post a little bit at just 6'6". You like to see the outside shot as well. Could have had maybe one more, I think, to go 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, but still 2 threes. Played very well overall. You love to see it. Bench points, 39 again to 4. South Carolina, on the other hand, could not get anything going from their bench, and frankly, they only played 2 guys over 10 minutes coming off the bench. That would be 2 different guys at 23 minutes and 18. Didn't really dive deep, and when those guys were on the floor, they didn't take a ton of shots. The most that were taken was a guy that went 0 of 4, 0 of 3 from beyond the arc, and one of them was an air ball, if I'm not mistaken. So Kentucky utilizing their bench, specifically Brea, Carr, a player we'll get to later on in the show, and they produced. This was an interesting matchup going in because I thought South Carolina would be like grit and grind, make some tough shots, keep themselves in it by rebounding, and they couldn't hit. I mean, statistically, if you want to go look at what their starters did in this game, 33% from the floor overall for the team, 18% from three, 4 of 22. Kentucky's 2-point defense is something that we've been monitoring. I believe South Carolina was just a touch over 41% from inside the arc, which is great to see for Kentucky. Their adjusted defensive efficiency went from 109th or 108th all the way down to 92nd in this game. So it was a pretty significant jump on KenPom. They also went up from 3rd to 2nd in adjusted offensive efficiency, 2nd best offense in the country right now for the Cats. By the way, it's crazy. If you want to go look on Torvik, from January 18th to now, Kentucky has the 3rd best offense in the nation. Like they've been the 3rd best offense in the nation since January 18th, and they're 2-4 in that stretch. You have to play defense at some point. You really do. Which you did today, and again, it's a team that hasn't really found a lot of success on the offensive end of the floor. They were last in the SEC in adjusted efficiency. They haven't beaten a team that is over or in the top 100 in adjusted offensive efficiency, so they've been struggling against good opponents on the defensive end, and then that's kind of caused more problems on the offensive side. So things kind of snowballed at various points here for South Carolina. I think this game could have been uglier than it ended up being, primarily because Kentucky only shot 34% from 3. I think that you could have seen a massive blowout or even bigger blowout, but this is what you got. And hey, 23 points, I'll take it. You were only favored by 11. It's a big win for the Cats. Let's take a look at the chat here. Appreciate loyal BBN fan show. I know you've been watching for a while, and I've seen you start a show here recently that's really, really cool. It's Big Mike. That's right. As Austin Vanderpool mentions. Carlos says, we didn't just play great defense. We played the worst team in the SEC. Still go Big Blue. That's right. Hey, a win is a win, especially when, well, that's not true, but whenever it's a 23-point win over a bad opponent, you will absolutely take it. Big Blue Breakdown says, kind of off topic, but love to see Dickie V back. What's your thoughts? Very happy to see him back as well. He's somebody that's been at ESPN for so long, has been just a staple of college basketball. When you think East Coast hoops on ESPN, when you think prime time, when you think NCAA tournament back in the day, you think about Dick Vitale. You think that's what college basketball is. It's the hype. It's the diaper dandies. It's that's awesome, baby. Kind of Austin Powers-esque, I guess, at various points. But I love it. I'm so glad to see that he's healthy. Right now, cancer-free. Been battling through all those different treatments. I'm so happy to see him back, man. I know a lot. I won't say a lot. Some people are at this point not fired up about the voice. I know some people that have just been like, I don't really care for his voice. I get past all of that just knowing that he is what college basketball is. When I think of the sport, he is a part of it. He is a part of that first thought of just somebody that has been kind of entrenched in the game for so long that I have so much respect for him and everything that he's done outside of just his commentary work. So I think he's a solid dude, and I absolutely love to see him back for sure. And I think the chat seem to agree. Let's see. HTN Willie Boy says, how do we feel about Trent Noah's progression? Because it seems like he is adapting extremely well. Again, yeah, love to see Trent Noah. It's a shame that he couldn't get a 3 to go until the end of the game because he got a couple open looks. I love the confidence, man. Come in there and shoot it, dude. Love to see it. He is a sharpshooter. I'm hoping with more volume next season, he can show, obviously not 50% efficiency. I don't think that's going to happen, but consistent efficiency. Like this isn't just a one-off where it's like, okay, you give him limited shots and he's kind of like hitting some, but he's not hitting. He would be hitting at a lower rate if you gave him more minutes. I'm hoping that's not the case because you've seen that with different guys across college basketball, especially this year after transferring. Some of them, in Kentucky's case, have just simply gone up and improved. So, we'll get to Brandon Garrison. We'll get to Amari Williams because there are some very interesting statistics. And I want to talk about two things to close out the show. I want to talk about Brandon Garrison's future. And then I want to talk about the rest of Kentucky's season because a big game happened in the SEC today. Multiple games did. And I don't know if you saw the final score from just about an hour or so ago. But Kentucky, I think that if you're a fan, right now, you should feel optimistic about how the rest of the season could go. Before we get into that, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. Of course, Super Bowl 59 is here. Tomorrow, it's one game, two teams, and endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Because whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds, and you can feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field tomorrow, and the app is super easy to navigate, of course. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet, potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, it's all icing on the cake. It's super fun. You can download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Again, bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. You can bet with FanDuel, an official partner of Super Bowl 59. All right, wrapping up the Saturday evening edition of Locked On Kentucky. Really appreciate everybody in the chat. Hey, if you've not liked the video, if you've not subscribed to the show, if you're new, would love to have you. Thank you guys so much. 15,000 people have decided to subscribe to this show, which is, I said it on the most recent live stream, is just insane. It's just crazy to me. Thank you guys so much. We're going on this is like, we're almost done with season 4 of this show. Incredible that so many of you continue to watch. I really do appreciate it. Let's take a look at actually real quick, we'll take a look at the chat here. We didn't fade at the end of the halves today. Do you think that was a point of emphasis? Abso-freaking-lutely, it had to have been a point of emphasis. This is something that we've been harping on. Everybody that follows this team this year has been harping on. You have to be more consistent at the end of the halves, specifically the first half. You like to see the consistency here from the Cats. Really do think that it's awesome. Okay, let's talk about it. Brandon Garrison and Amari Williams combined for 25 points. 6 rebounds, and then let's see here. 3 assists, 2 turnovers, and a combined 41 minutes of play. Yes, Amari Williams did play well. 10 points, 4 of 9. He had a couple of shots that were just like, what are you doing, man? Like fogging it up like that? Like I thought he could have gotten deeper into the paint instead of just like turning around and throwing up that like a little hook. But still, finished above 50% shooting. And then the big thing here, the plus-minus box score, which helps you show how good you were on defense. Plus 32 for Amari. We've not seen a mark like that since non-con play, and I don't know if we saw anything like that consistently. He was dominant on the floor defensively today for Kentucky. And again, this is the 3rd game in a row where I've said he is the X factor heading into the matchup, and he was big for the Cats here against Colin Murray Boyles and against different South Carolina players who just could not get things to fall at the rim. Big stuff from Amari. But it's Garrison that I leave this game, with all due respect to Amari, who just got the 4th triple-double in Kentucky history. Garrison just intrigues me so much as a prospect for the Cats. 15 points, 7 of 8 in this game. Both Amari and Garrison caught some bodies. Dude, did you see that and one dunk that Amari had? That was sick. And he was trying to finish it with 2 hands, but he got fouled and had to finish it with 1. That was impressive. In air, adjusting like that. But 15 points for Garrison, man. A rebound, an assist, no turnovers. One of his fouls was a technical. Outside of that, he would have just had 1 foul in 20 minutes and 2 blocks. He was -2 and plus-minus, but the 15 points... And to go 1 of 2 from 3, something that just stuns me about Garrison is he got to Kentucky, former McDonald's All-American, and he had not taken a 3 at all last year. And now all of a sudden, he's 6 of 20 at 6'11", 250. If you want to look at the players that Ken Palm compares him to, the top 2 are Isaiah Mobley and Dwight Powell. Both very good for their respective schools. And Mobley, obviously, one of the best defenders in the NBA right now. There is something special here, I think, with Garrison next season. If you get in the weight room and you can continue to enhance your touch from beyond the arc, and he is continuing to show impressive passing chops. You may have one of the best centers in the country next season, development pending. You see it in flashes. And I thought you saw it a lot here, where rim running, a great pass from Kobe on the fast break to him, by the way. I know, look, just beautiful stuff. You see the rim running, you see the dunking, you do see the rebounding on occasion, and now you're starting to see the three-point shot, something that wasn't there. Who knows? I think that there might be something there, like really special with Garrison. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I'll get to chat here in a second. In case you did not see, Auburn lost today. And Auburn, the number one team in the nation, didn't just lose. They lost at home. And they did not just lose at home. They lost at home by 9, giving up 90 points to the Florida Gators. 90-81 was the final score. Florida, in the first half and then through the first half to the second half, went on 3 different major runs. 12-2, 14-2, 12-2. And Auburn could not keep up on the defensive end. Florida only shot 39% from 3, and this may shock you considering they scored 90 points, but they hit 13 of them. And I say only 39% because, again, as we talked about whenever we previewed the Gators matchup with Kentucky earlier this season, and we came out of it saying it's about volume. It's not about efficiency. It's about grabbing boards, and it's about getting as many good looks up as you can. And Auburn made the decision to do something that Kentucky has done way too often this year, which is play percentages and let bad shooters shoot. And it helped them in some spots. Will Richard went 2 of 9. You had Thomas Hall going 1 of 4. But it really hurt them in other areas. Sam Alexis, who was only shooting like 20-something% from 3, 1 of 2. And then they had another guard, I think it's Klavzar, I believe is Urban Klavzar is how you pronounce his name. He was shooting sub 30%, 3 of 3. Walter Clayton, you left him wide open way too many times, 4 of 8. Auburn goes down in their own gym and gives up 90 points in the process to a good three-point shooting team. This is all to tell you. Kentucky may lose every game from here on out. They could get blown out by Tennessee on Tuesday. They could be embarrassed. Who knows? But if you're a Kentucky fan right now, you cannot come out of games like that against Auburn and not think, okay, if they have deficiencies, the best team in basketball that was 21-1, if they have deficiencies and teams can shoot so well against them from 3 and really just put it on them, essentially because they were able to hit so many shots beyond the arc, we, as Kentucky, if it wasn't clear to you already, we can beat anybody. We can beat Duke. We can beat the Zags. We can beat Florida, who we scored 106 on Florida. We can beat State. We can beat A&M. We can beat Tennessee. We can beat anybody in the country. If the ball's going in the hole, we can be special. Right now, over the final, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games of the season, Ken Pom projects Kentucky to go 2-6. Honestly, if you look into the 50-50 games, because there's so many here, it's more like 3-5, 4-4. 4-4, honestly, when you're looking at their projected record. But I think there's a major opportunity here. You start to kind of pack things in defensively. You start to be more aggressive, closing out on shots, getting to the rim, being physical down low, grabbing boards, man. Your offense, because of how good it is has the chance to carry you through some of these games. If Florida can do it against Auburn, and we've seen Kentucky beat Florida and opponents that are frankly better than Florida already, then I think we can safely say Kentucky's got a chance, man. They've got a chance to really turn things on here. Okay, let's take a look at the live chat. Austin Vanderpool says Amari is playing his best basketball in the last 2 weeks. Despite Kentucky's record, I do agree. Goated at NFS says, well, our win against Florida looks even better now. Very true. I appreciate the kind words. Big Blue Breakdown. Peanut Butter Posse says, I like seeing Amari and Garrison in together. We should be able to do that for 10 minutes a game if each can play 25. I almost tweeted out, not verbatim, and then he continues, or even more if we go small and sit them at the same time. Have we seen Carr at the 5 at all this year? I'll say this first. I almost tweeted out in this game because Carr was in foul trouble. I was like, if Garrison is going to be like an actual threat from 3 where he can go 1 of 2 essentially every game, and he can step out and he can provide you defense, and he can pass as well as Amari can, run the two big lineups some. I don't see why you wouldn't. Let's take a look here. It's not common at all according to Kim Pom. I actually can't even find it in the 10 most frequent lineups over the past 5 games. I think Kentucky should do it more. I agree. I think that you should try Garrison and Williams a little bit more. And even if the analytics say bad, like if Evan Mia says it's not an efficient lineup, don't care. Try it. Let's just try it a little bit more, because you don't know until you have more data, as Mark Pope likes to say. Nick Saylor says, you say we don't play good defense because there are worse teams in the SEC. Let me educate you, or remind me educate you. Auburn, Florida, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Owl on the Beach, South Carolina by 5 points or less. I'm assuming he went to say that South Carolina lost to them all but 5 points or less. It's a gritty team. It's a very good team. This does not mean Kentucky is good defensively. There are a lot of different things to point to that, but I mean, hey, I think that you need to take the wins where you can get them. You dominated them on defense, man. I mean, this was their second lowest scoring output of the year. Owl on the Beach, new band name. It's the name of my indie band. Yeah, you throttled them on defense, dude. Second lowest scoring output. Do not take that for granted. Respect that. It's a good look for Kentucky today. Do the analytics really say that Kentucky is better in man than in zone defense? Don't know. I don't know if Evan Mia or I don't know if any major college basketball website that I have a subscription to tracks that. I could say my the eye test says Kentucky is better at man than they are on zone for the most part. I think that you can point to various possessions against both Ole Miss and Arkansas that would indicate that, like the few times that they tried it. But again, it's the same thing with Garrison and Williams. Like, try it more. Get more data. Practice it more. Vanderpool says, I feel like our zone is great against offensive teams and bad against physical teams. Yeah. Peanut Butter Posse said, Florida played a bigger lineup than usual and beat Auburn. Blueprint for us might be, hey, man, if Garrison can step out and if he can pull a miracle off and give you 2 threes, he becomes a problem. He becomes a legitimate threat to a team like Auburn. Absolutely. All right, let's wind it down here. Let's see. The little engine that could said, I've been saying that Butler has been needed by Kentucky for months. There is a reason, and I agree, there is a reason that Mark Pope went after him first. Incredibly valuable. To anybody out there that wants to make the argument, like, well, Kentucky has already beaten teams like Tennessee and Gonzaga without their point guard, so, like, why should we care if Butler's out? Like, we should be able to play. Well, I don't think that that's sound logic, because anytime you're down 2 players at the same position, incredibly tough to win games, especially whenever, as the broadcast said earlier, and they said some dumb stuff today, but they made a good point, to lose both players at the same position that sets the table for your offense, and then to have Jax hurt, like, it's difficult. And it's less about what he does on the offensive end of the floor, as valuable as that is, with the ball handling and getting to the rim and stuff, which Fishback made a good point on that. But it's also the defense. He is your best defender, full stop. If you don't have him, it makes things virtually impossible. So I almost look at Kentucky succeeding without him as a major buck to a trend, or major buck to an expectation, like a realistic expectation. than it is just like, oh, we should expect to play well without him. No, he's so valuable, and I think the chat agrees. He is so important to the way that this team operates. Even when he's hurt, he is crucial for the Cats. All right. I think that's going to do it for tonight's episode of Locked On Kentucky. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Big win for Kentucky again, 80 to 57. Coming off that tough loss where you gave up 98 points. Turnaround, albeit against the worst team in the SEC, but you only give up 57, win by 23. You got Tuesday, a showdown with the Tennessee Volunteers. Chance to sweep. More than that, it's a chance to add another win to your resume. And I don't want to even talk about this as just another win. This is a rivalry. This is one that you need. Tennessee's going to come in there wanting to make a statement with how poorly players like Zakai Ziegler played, how poorly they shot from 3 overall. They're going to want to change that. And frankly, they're going to have every opportunity to. So if you're Kentucky, can you kind of channel this energy that you've got going? Can you channel the energy that you had on defense against South Carolina? We will have to see. You can follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnUK. You can follow me on Twitter at LanceDawe_. And you can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on the socials. I will see you all on Monday for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And God bless. And go Chiefs. I would rather see literally anybody other than Philadelphia win the Super Bowl tomorrow. As much as people don't like Patrick Mahomes, I don't care. Give me the Chiefs.